If you decided to watch this video because of the title and you were wondering what is Kent going to say the best upgrade for these old cars is, well, you've already figured it out. If you've been around cars, you kind of know what I've got here on the bench. These are distributors. These are the distributors that were pulled off of a number of old Mercedes-Benzes. These are 4- and 6-cylinder gasoline models from the mid-50s right up until 1972. And I've converted so many of these old cars to this upgrade that I'm pretty adamant that I feel it's the best upgrade you can make for the money. Short of installing a new engine or something, but when you're looking for things like better fuel economy, less engine smoke, quicker starts, smoother idle, more power, this is the upgrade you want to make. And it has to do with getting rid of this right here. This here was probably one of the worst inventions made for cars, but I don't think they had any other option back then. These are the ignition points. I don't think I've ever, not once, have I ever pulled a distributor off an old car where I haven't seen the points badly burned and pitted. Not once. It seems like they don't last very long. And of course, the other thing is if you let your car sit, particularly in not a real dry area, these points will tend to corrode. And so when you go to start it in the spring, let's say you've stored it over the winter, you go to start it, it won't start because those points aren't making contact. So there's a lot of disadvantages. One is the points tend to wear quickly, they need constant adjustment. And if you have a distributor with a shaft that is slightly worn, which is typical of these old cars, you've got a situation where the points are jumping all over the place, changing the dwell, changing the point at which they're opening and closing, and that's not going to make your engine run very well. So when you make this conversion, when you make this upgrade, you can do it with a distributor that has a little bit of side play in the shaft. You can't have an 1/8 of an inch of play, but if you've got a little bit of play in the shaft, it's not even going to matter for this particular upgrade. And so the upgrade is getting rid of these ignition points and replacing them with electronic ignition. Now, I've gone over conversions on a number of these 4- and 6-cylinders. There's a few little tweaks that you have to make for these Mercedes-Benz. So this is specific to Mercedes-Benz. The kits that I have on my website, both the 4- and the 6-cylinder, are for those models from the mid to late 50s up until 1972. Before the age of quote-unquote electronic ignition. So briefly, let me show you what's at the heart and soul of this electronic ignition kit. And it has to do with literally getting rid of these and replacing it with something that cannot wear at all. Look at the pitting in that point right there. And of course, if you rotate it over here, you can see it's even worse, right? Right in there, it's got literally a big pit in it. And if you look at how these points move, imagine you're going down the freeway at 60 miles an hour. Can you imagine how fast that distributor is spinning and how many times those points are opening and closing, and each time they open and close, you get a little spark. That's why they don't last very long. So let me show you what occurs when you install our electronic ignition. Number one, for those of you who are really into the collectability and originality of these old cars, when you put this kit in, you do not have to make any modifications that will damage the distributor or something that won't allow you to bring it back to original should you choose to do that. But you remove the points, and in place of the points is a shutter and an optical trigger. Let me show you that. Here's the shutter. I've already got this shutter installed. It goes right on top of the cam, just below where you put the rotor on. So you still use your stock rotor, and you just have to remove the points. You can save the points for later if you want to go back to the original. But this little optical trigger here is the key right there. And you can kind of see that this is mounted down in the distributor, kind of where the points were located. And as the distributor rotates, you can see that this shutter passes between this optical light break right here. And each time it passes through that slot, that's when it fires. So this is spinning at very high speed while you're going down the freeway at 60 to 70 miles an hour. And guess what? There's no contact. Nothing's touching. Nothing's rubbing. So you don't get any wear on your camshaft. You don't need to grease anything. You don't need to adjust anything. You don't have to worry about replacement, and certainly you don't have to worry about corrosion. So that's kind of the heart and soul of this electronic conversion. It gives you a much hotter spark, and that's the key to better fuel economy, more power, and less engine smoke. Particularly on fuel-injected engines, I found that, like with my 280 SL Happier, when I made that conversion, I couldn't believe how much cleaner the exhaust was. When you get back there, you didn't get that, you wipe the exhaust, you didn't get that black soot that you see from real rich mixture. So this is a great conversion. I would recommend any of you out there that have one of these 4 or 6-cylinder cars to make this conversion. It doesn't have to be a Mercedes-Benz. Granted, my instructions won't be specific, but this kit, by the way, comes with general instructions that you see here. These instructions are pretty generic, and I include with my kit a booklet specific to Mercedes-Benz. So you can buy this kit and put it on an MG if you want, or an old Jaguar, or some other, American car that has point ignition. Each car, see, has a little bit different design for this shutter, and that's where you have to be careful. Sometimes you'll get what's called a universal kit, and you won't be able to find one of these that will fit on your particular distributor. So that's kind of the most difficult thing. That's why I've made my kit specific to Mercedes-Benz, because I've researched these shutters to make sure you get a shutter that's going to fit on your distributor shaft. So if you're interested in learning more about my 4 and 6-cylinder kits, I'll just put the links in the description below this video.